I will be talking in English. And this is not just because I'm a snob, which I am, but because the subject of my today's talk is a world-class self-education, not just any self-education, but world-class self-education. And for those of you who are old enough, I will raise the stakes. I will be talking about becoming a world-class expert in whatever industry or sphere you would like to become. So let me tell you a little story about myself. In 2005, I was working as an analyst in the office. It was a writing job. I was writing reports. And I was doing this for like 5 years already. And at a certain point, you become pretty good at whatever you're doing. And a boss of mine asked me at a certain point to come out and to present the report that I wrote. So it was a sort of a transition for me. I did exactly what he asked me to do. I made myself a nice set of slides, and I was talking for about 30 minutes, about half an hour, and it went pretty well. But very soon, it turned out that I was the only one thinking so. A client, which will remain anonymous for this talk, famously said, "Please do not delegate presentations to Kapterev ever." Yeah. So I will fast forward to 2011. In 2011, I published a book in English. It's now on Amazon. You can buy it if you'd like it. And it's a good book, apparently. It is. I mean, to my immense surprise, 56 people like it. I was just in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and yep, there it is. So it's not bad for a Russian guy. I mean, I spent about 6 years in self-education, which is slightly less than I spent at school, but slightly more than I spent in the university. And I would like to talk about 6 years of my self-education today. Arguably, you might think that, well, of course, presentations, but presentations are not rocket science, right? It's also not brain surgery or quantum physics. You might think that it's a simple sort of task to teach yourself presentations, but if you think of it, Russia, I mean, I have a disadvantage, all right? Russia is not known as the country of great speakers. This is my childhood trauma, by the way. When I was growing up in the 80s, there were 2 TV channels, and this guy was on both of them. So, and also, where do you learn presentations? You cannot get a diploma in presentations, right? There's no way you can go to study presentations from like A to Z. This is your curriculum, like you go here and then here. This professor will teach you this. No, there is no place. It's like in sales, one of the most popular subjects on earth. You cannot get a degree in sales, nowhere. Amazing. So where do you study presentations? Nowhere. I had to self-educate myself. And also, if you think about it, presentations is a wonderfully diverse area of expertise. You have to understand something about speech writing or script writing. You also have to understand something about graphics design. And you also have to understand something about performing arts. And there are very few people capable of doing all 3 things at the same time. I was recently at the speechwriters conference in London, and let me tell you something, not all speechwriters are great speakers. Not all of them, although some of them are amazingly good, but some of them aren't. And almost none of them knows anything about graphics design. Let me tell you this. So I think that in current society, in post-industrial society, you have to invent your own profession. You cannot get an education as sort of as a package, all right? And this applies to all levels of education, both graduate and postgraduate, both university level and afterwards. You have to do it yourself. You cannot sort of pass the entrance exam and then make it all done for you by someone else. You have to find your own sort of spot in life. It's a mixture of different things. Our professions become more and more complex. Cognitive neurophysiologist, how cool is that? Molecular biophysicist. A friend of mine is a dance and movement psychotherapist. I mean, he has to study dance, but then he has to study anatomy and biomechanics. And then he has to study psychology, his PhD in psychology. And then he has to study psychotherapy, which is a different field. And he's a philologist by education. And I think we all be like this in 10 years' time, and many of us already are. You cannot buy it as a package anymore. Those things are gone. Those times are gone. So you have to find your own spot. And it is getting worse and worse year by year. You have to find more and more of those, little things that come together and create your unique personality, your unique blue ocean strategy, in a way. And even if you want some simple profession, like for example, if you want to become an architect, but not just any architect, but a world-class architect, you have to be self-educated, like Le Corbusier, for example. And if you want to have an interesting future, or actually any kind of professional future, you have to do it by yourself, and you have to have a strategy for self-education. It's not a plan. You can't come up with a plan because you don't know what you want. You have to discover it. But you have to have a strategy. And I think that the only sensible strategy in our time is cross-pollination. You have to sort of cross-pollinate yourself with many different things and just see what will happen. And I will share with you 6 things which I believe are key in this cross-pollination strategy. I will miss something, obviously, because 6 things are just not enough. There are more of them, but I think these are the necessary ones. And thing number 1 is reading. I'm sorry, this is very obvious. I know it, but you have to read. While I was still working in this consulting company, I was reading for about an hour a day. And you have to organize. It's a discipline of a sort, and I'm a very lazy person. So I have to organize it for myself, to organize this flow of information, to immerse myself in the subject that I was studying, which were presentations. And it's very easy to do with blogs. I mean, blogs are phenomenal in this regard. Books are much worse because, for one thing, there are too many books. And secondly, books are, they're thick, and it's a big commitment. And most of them are, by the way, obsolete. There are very few good books out there. And blogs, they give you those small little chunks of information, which are very nice, and they're nicely packaged for your sort of daily consumption. Secondly, and most importantly, you have to learn English in the process. If you don't know, I know it's pointless to say this in English, but sorry. A world-class education and the world-class self-education is only possible in English. It's a fact. It's a sad fact. I'm not happy about this. I've spent enormous of time studying English, and I would reckon I might have invested this time otherwise, to something else. But still, it's a fact. You have to learn English. When in 2006 I discovered this blog by Gar Reynolds, it's still an amazing blog, and I learned a great deal from this. But pretty soon, from this blog, I discovered many different fields which were very close by. So pretty soon, from presentations, I went to speech writing, and then script writing, and then copywriting, and then graphics design, and web design, and information design, and data visualization, and typography, and presentation software, and stand-up and other kinds of comedy, because just I like comedy, and cognitive psychology, and the list goes on. And obviously you cannot read all this stuff, so you have to rotate. You have to sort of keep adding and removing stuff and finding your unique passions in life, and blogs allow you to do it. And thing number 2, please read even more, and books this time. Gar, the author of the presentation blog, was very cool. He put together this list of books. But if you don't have the list of books, you have to sort of explore the area around the main subject of your expertise, and sort of search on the fringes. What are the borders of whatever you are exploring? And you have to have a reading list and then rereading list. Because some of the books, they're just so timeless, you are unable to comprehend them in one sitting. And I have a rereading list, the books that I reread, for example, in 2 years' time. And I find entirely different things in those books. And Amazon is amazing, and I mean it. I've spent an enormous amount of time reading books from that. And you can also listen to audiobooks, which some of them are truly mind-blowing. I mean, I would not have expected that so many great professors from the leading universities are giving such just great, amazing, wonderful lectures. And I've spent an enormous amount of time listening to them, and I learned a lot from them. Number 3, YouTube won't watch itself. I mean, seriously, it won't. And I'm a juggler, among other things. I juggle with balls. And even for practical skills like juggling, you can learn a lot from YouTube by watching those videos. And for presentations, you just cannot believe how many things you can watch. If you don't know what iTunes U is, please Google it. Many top universities are putting their courses online so you can watch them, and so you can build your own unique curriculum for yourself, just for yourself. It's amazing how, I don't know why are they doing this. I mean, to me it's counterintuitive, but it's just, what's even more important, I think while watching videos, you can learn by empathizing, not just by acquiring information, auditory, but you can watch other people from your profession doing something on stage, and you can understand what's it like to be this person or this person, and you take, I don't know, little bits of their values and little bits of their worldviews. And I think it's tremendously important to understand what's it like to be a person in this profession. I was lucky in a sense that in 2006, TED started putting videos online, and I had a chance to learn from Malcolm Gladwell, for example, or other great speakers whom I didn't know existed before. Number 4, experiment. In 2008, I went to New York to learn from this guy. His name is Robert McKee. I tried to read this book, but this is the single most boring book in the history of books. It's impossible to read. It's like a dictionary. So I had to go to his live seminar to have him read his book to me in 3 days. But apart from that, I did a tour in the United States. I also went to American Comedy Institute to study stand-up comedy. And I also went to an improv theater, because believe it or not, in presentations, improvisation is immensely important. You have to improvise. And I sucked at improvisation, and I still do, by the way. And 1 week wasn't enough for me. So I got back to Moscow, and I organized a small practice group where we practiced exercises which I brought from New York. And a number of those guys who were with me at the time are now on Russian TV improvising comedy, which I think is quite cool. So in another practice group, we copied Steve Jobs. I mean, we just transcribed his presentations, and we were trying to make his presentations, which was fun, by the way. We were trying to understand what's it like to present like Steve Jobs. Number 5, share. Please share whatever you come up with, whatever you discover, I don't know, online or blog. I know many of you are not writers, so please, I don't know, video blog or photo blog, or I tried to have a slide blog, which wasn't very successful, but maybe you will. I mean, in 2000, whenever you crystallize your knowledge, you are adding to the global knowledge pool, to the global information pool, which I think is a worthwhile thing to do. But also what happens is that in 2007, I put this presentation online, and in 5 years it was viewed more than 2 million times, which I think is quite good, which eventually got me this book deal with one of the leading world's publishing houses. And I would have been never able to write my book in English without help from those guys. I mean, there were like 4 editors editing whatever I was writing. In the book, it's like 30% written by me. The rest is just, clever rephrasing of my words by other people. And I'm immensely grateful to them for that tactfulness and other stuff. So, finally, please do real-life projects, because as an expert or as a consultant, you're only as good as your cases are. You're only as good as your real-life experiences. And by the way, as an author, you're only as good as stories you tell in your books. So please do real-life projects, even for free. And I still do projects for free for my friends, because I still experiment and I still learn. And I think I'm still discovering this unique sport of mine, which is not yet found. And it is important to keep your radar open and to do projects on the fringes, something you've never done before, something new. So to sum up, organize the flow of information, keep a reading and rereading list, watch videos, join or organize a practice group, share your knowledge, and do real-life projects. You cannot buy your education anymore. It's just not an option. You can't pay someone to design your future for you. You have to do it by yourself. And you have to find, and you have to cross-pollinate yourself. And you can only discover it yourself. And by doing this, I think it's a great responsibility that you are assuming. But by assuming this responsibility, it's a first step to an infinite future, which I believe all of you have. And good luck with that, and thank you.